Would you all join me in the call to worship? I'm down here. Because it would take divine power to get me up there. All right. We're used to seeing the real differences in the world as among religions: Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, and atheist.
But this way of thinking can be counterproductive, especially in a world that is growing and small.
Perhaps in this sense, we are not called to be a people of beliefs,
but rather people of faith.
In this way of being in the world, we are not in competition with other ideas or beliefs.
Instead, we are drawn to collaborate and embrace other people.
Not to change them,
but to love them.
It is a deep thing we say every Sunday. Faith finds its fullest expression in love. Would you join me in prayer? Lord, thank you for this morning. Thank you for all the people that have gathered here this morning to worship you. May our hearts be open and accepting into this worship time, Lord. May we be here to hear your words and be here to praise you. Amen.
I invite you all to rise in your spirits and stand if you're willing and join in singing our gathering hymn number 718. Come, ye thankful people, come.
Welcome to University Baptist Church. We're a progressive, welcoming, and inclusive community of faith in the heart of the University District, where faith is expressed as love. Welcome to anyone visiting this morning. If you're visiting, we have these really cool checking in cards. They are in the back of the pews. If you want to fill that out and put some of your information in there, how we can get in contact with you, we would love that. You can drop that in the offering plate during the offering time. Also, in your worship order, you have these really cool prayer slips. If you have a prayer that you'd like to share or have prayed over during the prayers of people, put that on there. It can be anonymous. You can also check the little box on the bottom so that it's only prayed over by the pastors and not prayed in front of everyone else. You can also drop those in the offering plate during the offering time. I also want to mention that today we'll be celebrating Stewardship Sunday. This is the time when we turn in our pledges for the year. I have another paper for that. You can fill out your little pledge on the Stewardship Pledge 2026 paper. This is the time when we turn in our pledges. They are what we intend on committing with our time and our finances to the work of this church. It'll happen during our closing hymn, and the stewardship cards, as I said, look like this. All right, finally, let me conclude by saying UBC is a sacred space and a safe space. It's loving its embrace and values the diversity of God's creation. In this place, God's presence is celebrated, and so are you. I invite you to stand and greet one another in Christ's spirit of peace. Let us welcome one another.
Good morning. Good morning. Today I'm reading from Psalms 46, 1 through 7. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with surging. There is a river whose streams that make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, she will not fail. God will help her at the break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Colossians 1, 11 through 20. Be strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, so that you may have endurance and patience, and give joyful thanks to the Father, who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of his holy people in the kingdom of light. For he has recused us from the domination of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of the Son he loves, in which whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins, the supremacy of the Son of God. The Son is in the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creations. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn among the dead, so that in everything he might have supremacy. For God was pleased to have his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his own blood shed on the cross.
Good morning. Most of you know me. Those who don't, my name is Isaac Robinson, and I'm up here because I am the church moderator. And I want to welcome you to the first all-church update regarding the move and what went on behind that, that our church is doing. A lot of you came on in different phases when we're talking about the move. Almost all of you know we are moving. Some of you don't know why or how we got here. So we're going to try to go back a few years in the past and bring you up to date with how we got where we are, and then give you more detail about where we are right now. And first person that we'll start with will be Barbara, and I think, and she's going to go into some of the history of the finances as far as that goes, and kind of how that helped lead us to where we are. He's back with the links.
Are you running the slideshow?
I guess so.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. So go ahead and go to the, I don't have the slides. So Adam asked me to do just kind of a brief trend. So I went ahead and looked at all of our actuals since about 2024. And you can go ahead and see, this is a little hard to see, but the gray lines, the gray boxes on the bottom are our expenses, and the darker boxes at the top are our income. You can see that we're pretty close to running, just eyeballing it, you can see that we are pretty close to running even. The boxes look about what they are. That's fine. We're not here to make a profit, people. We are a church. We are not trying to have a lot of money go in the bank. We are not trying to save money for shareholders. We are a mission. And so we do want to see that those boxes look pretty even. That is our mission. You can go ahead. And what you can see, the last box on the back, that's through September. So don't panic, that you can see that our last box there is September year to date. And so we have 3 months to go. And what I can tell you that I'm a little concerned about in this last quarter of the year is we are running behind budget for about $50,000 in our offerings compared to what we anticipated in budget. So we know that at the end of the year, a lot of people get caught up. I'm going to encourage you, please get caught up. Help us with our operating expenses. We still have to keep the lights on up until, what, January 12th?
January 12th.
And we still have, regardless of that, we have our beautiful staff, our beautiful choir, and our singers and accompanists and our musicians. So please make sure that you help us stay on board. Go on. Next slide. Again, these are just our expense trends. You can see in 2024 that looks so much lower. That's because we didn't have a full-time pastor. That's really low because we didn't have the salary. So once we started getting into having our full staff, you can see how much that our, and we still don't have a full-time pastor, you know. So, and I don't see us getting that anytime real soon. Although I'm sure the council will talk to you. Adam has been working more than his three-quarter time, and I think there is an issue of justice that we as a congregation need to consider when we are having our staff working more hours than we actually contracted them for on our behalf. So that is an issue we will have to face as a congregation. Next slide. And this is just to show you where those expense categories are. So you can see see how that kind of, you can't really tell on this slide, but it's an orange line. That's the salary and wages. You can see these are not below zero, so these are all negative numbers. So you can see the salaries and wages in 2024 are low because, like I said, we did not have a full-time staff at that point. And by the way, thank you, Ken, for all of your service in those years. And all the other people, like Carrie and everybody else who pitched in and were interim pastors in one way or the other. And then you can see, of course, our next biggest, and you can pan back out again. So our biggest expense is then that salaries and wages overall. That last number in September is going to continue to go negative because we have to pay salaries and wages. So it's only because it's 3/4 of the year. But you can see our biggest expense is salary and wages. Our next biggest expense is support, which is the building facility expenses, all of the things that keep a roof over our heads, basically. And then the next line above that, I just kind of wanted to have this line for you to see what our biggest expenses are. The next one is our worship and music. And that's, again, we've got our musicians, and that's one of the things in our worship that is really important to us. So mostly I wanted to give you those slides just so you understood where our biggest buckets of cost are. And other than, if we'd have to lose people to reduce that. And next year, we're gonna, I don't think we have, do we have budget slides out there? Show me the next slide, what did I put there? Okay, so next year, just briefly, we're gonna lose some in some categories on income, like our parking income, because we're not gonna have a parking lot. And but we're gonna have other expenses that are it's gonna end up being kind of close to a wash, because we're still gonna have to pay for rent, even though we're gonna lose the building. So when we get to the budget, we'll talk about it then.
So, oh yeah, Isaac, you were next.
So in looking at our finances, and a lot of us looking, and we knowing that in the future, we really couldn't continue with the maintenance costs increasing the way it was, that this was not really sustainable forever as far as financially for our church. So one thing we did before the pandemic, I don't remember the exact time or date, I know it was for 2019 or so, around then, we started looking at potentially merging with another church. That's just one of the options we looked at. And it was a campus church around here. So was on that committee. I was one on there. And to the congregation's credit, they were willing to even share a different type of music. They were into praise music, which wasn't our thing, and other things of worship. We were willing to say, okay, we can combine all this. But what became the big sticking point was their church was really big on the pastor was in control. I mean, ultimately, the pastors made the decision if it came down, when it came down to it. And that's not the way we've been as a church, and that's the way we wanted to be as a church, and we didn't think, in the congregation. So that did not work out for us. But continuing on with that, we said, okay, what else can we do? And one idea was potentially redevelopment. In this committee I was not on, and I want to give a lot of thanks to the committee who did all that work on the redevelopment committee in looking at potential redevelopments in different ways. And I'm going to let Mike Arvola speak to that. He was.
So considering our finances, we had a little bit of reserve. We had maintenance costs in the building that was continuing to go up. We had some time, not much, right? So we had to do something to figure it out for the future if we wanted to continue to be a church. So the Property Redevelopment Committee, we call it PRC, was created in 2021, and I was asked to chair it. We were tasked to vet and evaluate possible development companies with the intention of selling our land, but also buying back some to have a space here. So we looked to, that's what we were looking for. We were looking to sell most likely to a campus housing company and to do that. But we wanted to stay in this location or as close to this location as we could. So when we first started, we had, I think, one company that was really in contact with us, and it kind of kicked off the whole thing. We didn't stop there. We seriously considered 4 different companies. We reviewed their proposals. We dug into what that company was, who they were as a people. We tried to get to know them a little bit, because what we ultimately wanted to do was find a partner that we could live with, right? It's more than, for us, it's often more than just money. It's how do we do stuff. So we dug into it. We then needed to make a choice. So to help make this objective, we used a tool from quality engineering called a prioritization matrix. We weighed each company along 4 different weighted categories of trust, finance, space, and partner. And we tried to take it away from our gut decision and put some data to it. In the end, our gut matched the data, which is always a good place to be with decisions. And we, in January of 2022, UBC voted to sell its land to American Campus Communities. We took that vote roughly 2 weeks after Adam started the church.
And then after that committee submitted its findings, we voted on it, we agreed to go the direction that the committee recommended. Another group was formed, Building Design and Use Committee, is that right? Develop Design and Use Committee, BDUC as we call it all the time, so much so I don't see the word spelled out. And I think everybody but one person is here is on that committee. Adam was asked to be on the committee and actually chair that committee. I was not on originally. I joined now, it's been about 2 years ago almost, after I retired. Adam remembered when he asked me first, can you join the committee? I said, I'm working. As soon as I retired, like 6 weeks later, he asked me if I could join. Can't believe he remembered that. But we formed that committee, and what I want to talk to you about is, and let you know, is kind of how we function. Yes, Adam's on the committee, leading the committee. I'm on the committee, I'm moderator. I wasn't moderator when I got on the committee, so it had nothing to do with it. But we equally share in how we discuss things, voting. Believe me, it doesn't matter if I'm the moderator, he's the pastor, or somebody, and we all speak our piece. And we're all here, and I think we can all say we all speak our opinions freely and openly in that committee, and it's an equally shared venture that we do. I just want you to know that how it works, because I know it's easy to think, oh well, the pastor's leading, and he's kind of running the show, the moderator's on running the show. That's not the way we do it. It's very, very equitable in the way we do it. And now Adam will describe BDUC as he was on it from the beginning and led it.
Thanks, Isaac. One of the things I hope through the slides and through the presentation, we have a better idea of where we're at, what we're doing, why we made the decision from some time ago back in 2020 to kind of pursue this financially, just not being able to sustain what we had hoped. I'm the first part-time pastor that University Baptist has had, I believe, in its history, although perhaps not if we go back to 1890. That is to say, there were certain decisions that we were facing that we had to make as a community. And I'm really grateful for all of the people that are on these various committees that have been a part of the work. You'll see names repeated in this slide as we come up, from the Property Redevelopment Committee to the Building Design and Use Committee to all of these various components coming up now to the interim transition time kind of move committee, looking for space in the interim. Then considering how do we then finances kind of turn our ship around, so to speak, and get headed in the right direction, and how do we do that? So there's another committee that is in charge of that, and you'll see all of these names that are a part of it. We've talked among ourselves and just said, and I've had this sense too, there's not a single person who doesn't have the church's best interest at heart. There's not a single person that doesn't want this church to go forward, to minister, to reach out, to build what it can, to be a part, whether it's of student residences, and Isaac will get to some of what our hopes are, but I'm just really encouraged by everyone who's chipped in and how much trust we have in one another. So this is the Building Design and Use Committee. I started, like Mike said, in 2022 in January. Believe it or not, we're going to be celebrating 4 years. Celebrating or mourning, I don't know, but that's up to us. So anyway, so it's been almost 4 years. So 2022 I came, it was my second Sunday, I believe, that we made the vote to pursue and enter into a contract with American Campus Communities. Once we had done that, then the task was, okay, well, what do we want to build? How do we want to be? Because our priorities, as we saw it, were to be in the campus, the university district. We wanted to still be a part of the campus ministry, a part of the campus life, the university district. That was a priority. So staying, as they said, was a major, major component of deciding on American Campus Communities. When we decided and finally signed on the dotted line to enter into the contract, the church formed the Building Design and Use Committee, and our task was to evaluate our current use, how we use the building currently, how we then secondarily envision that we will use the building and how we'd like to use it in the future. We've spent time with architects, attorneys, the University District Commission, and construction consultants, hiring or at least interviewing one. Since the middle of 2022, we've been iterating designs of a new space. Okay. Our initial designs looked a little bit like this. So American Campus Communities, as you may know, is in contract with also the Little Bar, which wasn't a popular move, but it wasn't really our decision. I know from the student perspective, losing the Little Bar was kind of an issue. We heard about from the Lantern and other things. That was the development deal. They asked us whether we'd like to be on Lane or High. I think, to be fair, High made sense. They wanted us to be on High Street. I think they wanted to have that Lane Avenue entrance for the future building. So this is what will be on the corner of High and Norwich. You can see not all of it was exactly the same, but you'll see some of the writing on the side that says love is enough. There will be other writing along the side. We want this to be a church. We want this to be a place where people walk by and know that it's a sacred space, but also yet that it's a welcoming space, okay? The next is, be the exterior. This would be the Norwich side, which you guys have already seen. It should be in color because around that stained glass is really color. You can see the cross. It sort of streams, along in sort of a pano way, I guess. That will also be seen inside, and we'll get to that in a little bit, where colors and such will be streaming on the inside of the building as well. These were some of the exterior designs. Okay. This then is from the Norwich side as well. There's a part that isn't ours. That back part of brick where you see the cast stone and the difference, that's not ours. That's ACC's part of that High Street building. That's, though, what it will look like. Norwich, that may be a little wide for the Norwich side, as you can imagine, but you can see the bridge connecting what is the High Street to the Lane Avenue. Now, I do want to clarify one quick thing. ACC has been very accommodating to the city, to the Newman Center, among others. They have been a good neighbor. I do want to do at least, I'm not here to sell them per se, but I am here to at least say that they reached out. Newman Center built right up next to their property line. ACC could have built their building right next to the property line and left zero passageway through it. They decided to recess their building to accommodate a walking path so that the Newman Center could maintain some space on that side. It was just a way to be a neighbor. They also reached out. They're going to do some condos on the Norwich side. You can see there's a distinction, a bump out that you'll see to maintain a residential feel along the Norwich side. Also, they were going to have a smaller, decreased size originally from the University Commission or the University District Commission. The city came back to ACC and requested that they put more space, more floors on top for increased density. The city planners asked ACC to build higher. It's not a popular thing. It was the city's request, knowing that students need it. Hopefully an increased supply, this is the hope, will reduce costs, okay? So that's the hope. And I know that's not perfect, but that's the thinking. This would be the inside of our space, looking from the fellowship hall back toward actually High Street. You'll see that there's a stairwell, there's a mezzanine space up above that's sort of open. We hope that can be used for study space, for a third space for students. We hope eventually, I know people have mentioned doing a once a week lunch distribution for folks. We know there's a homeless issue. We're going to still have a homeless issue 2.5 years from now when we move in. What will we do and how will we respond? There's people who've already said, we'd love to do a lunch once a week for people. We have also mentioned using the kitchen as a kind of small business startup. Kitchen rental is a huge component around here. People need kitchen space in order to do catering, their food, etc. And it gets very pricey very quickly. So underneath, you can see that there's also a baptism there underneath. I don't know if you can see this area right here. But this, in a sense, the baptism would be under the stairs near the fellowship or in the fellowship hall. Here's another view, I think, of that. You'll see that was a discussion that we'd had. Do we have a baptism? Do we not? We're American Baptists, for goodness sakes. We have to. There's a big cost to it. Should we? Are we being good stewards with the finances that we had? All of those questions we're trying to answer. Isaac, I know, did a lot of work to say, well, what's a priority here? What's a priority to you? All of that's to say, and I know I'm getting long-winded, so I'll stop. We decided that it was critical still to have a baptism. Now, we imagine also, like, Over this, which will be covered, and then this would be open, maybe utilizing this for seating as well. Maybe it's a children's space. Wouldn't it be something for children to be sitting on, the very place that they may eventually be baptized? You know, as the years come, we just thought that might be kind of a really neat experience. So whether it's children's books or otherwise, that can be integrated into the fellowship hall. So how do we do this well? How do we maintain our identity? How do we build? Isaac said, I don't know how long ago, as we were iterating these designs, he said, I feel better 2.5 years from now than I do 6 months from now. That was a few months. But thankfully, we'll get to the move committee, and Beth will be here to talk about that. Last but not least is, if you remember the cross that was on the Norwich side that extended out, I said pano, it's a rainbow kind of, it's a very colorful cross. That would be integrated into somewhat of a prayer space so that light would be here. This would be somewhat of a sitting prayer / conversation / maybe instead of just turning in prayer cards, we put the prayer cards up, somebody takes them down. These are things we can do, but honestly, we just haven't had a lot of time. This has been part of our time-consuming work, okay? All that's to say is a lot of good things and exciting things, I think, are a part of that design coming up. Now, I want to give you all sort of the brass tacks of what we're making, what we're going to be using, et cetera, et cetera. So the PRC, which negotiated the sale price back in 2022, it seems like it's been a long time, and that's because it has been a long time. Property Redevelopment Committee, thank you. Why do we call it, oh yeah, Property Redevelopment, okay. So they had worked on the purchase sale agreement. This wasn't the highest offer that the PRC received. This, in fact, was sort of a middle ground, but they were the ones who made sense as a partner, as a campus partner as well, from what they had seen. The exterior shell cost was originally scheduled to cost about $1,045,000. Now, they decreased our allotted size from 11,000 to 9,000 square feet. Just being full disclosure, we asked for a concession because of that. So they are going to install the mezzanine for us, free, so that shell will be there. And then they are reducing the shell cost to that amount, to the $88,000. The interior build-out costs, we roughly anticipate to be around $2,500,000, okay? All of that, I don't think we're gonna go through all of that, but this is the budget down here, that you can see, the 2,467, okay? Now that was back in 2023. How accurate are those numbers? We don't know, but that's what we're operating with, 2.5 for the interior build-out. So I'll go back to the previous slide. So if we anticipate a $2.5 million, the additional changes beyond our projected scope, that might be building materials that we want to use, stained glass that we're using, artists that we're asking to do. We don't know what that will cost. I'm throwing out $200,000. The baptism itself is going to be a chunk of change that is beyond the scope of the work, because to have a pool that's embedded inside, and dug out, is going to be somewhat expensive. But if we anticipated around $200,000 for extra costs, then our total project cost is right here, the $3,588,000, our remaining balance. This is where we turn it over to the finance committee, or the sales and proceeds is what we call it, task force. But we're not there quite yet, is how do we invest and how do we utilize the 4.4? I think maybe 4.2 is probably better, but that's where we're at right now. Oh, so now Isaac will come and share about what's important and where are we at now.
Bring this paper up because some dates I want to make sure that we have right. Just to show you, one of the reasons you see me sometimes like rushed and in a hurry is because time is moving up on us. Right now we're scheduled to close between January the 5th and January the 9th. That's about 7.5 weeks from now. Then we'll have about 1 week to finalize our move and move out. And they'll start demolition within about 2 weeks of that, somewhere in there, approximately, middle of January, somewhere in there. And now then the other question is, okay, that's happening, so what are we doing and what's happening as far as the interim? You've seen the designs after 2.5 years from now, the design of the building. Again, I feel great about that, I really do. but what are we doing in the interim 2.5 years? We have a move committee that will look at interim places to worship. We have people looking at office space. We have people looking at the finances, dealing with the sale, and they're going to talk to you more about that. This has been called the wilderness years by some people. Again, I don't quite say wilderness years only because we know where we're going to end up and we know where we're going. This is just a little time in between, I like to look at it as. So it'll be, I think, let's see, Beth and Leslie and Barbara and Adam, I think, will be sharing. I think Beth, I believe, is first to share on the move committee, correct?
I want to salute my fellow movers, Joe Jackson, Orrin Newberry, who's recovering still from a knee replacement surgery, and Adam. So what do we do during these wilderness years? And I also want to point out that all of this has been based on the foundation of what is it that God foresees us to do and be as a people of Christ? What does trying to match up and open our minds as creatively as possible to where do we think God is leading us in the future. And there can be a lot of sacred stuff that happens in those wilderness and in-between years. And so we explored all kinds of options. And when you're investing in the future, sometimes you have to give up things to end up in perhaps an even better place. But we certainly examined all kinds of options for what could happen to UBC in these in-between years. We looked at bars, we looked at restaurants, we looked at buying spaces, we looked at partnering